Fleabag is nominated for 11 Emmys this year, including Best Comedy Series and Best Comedy Supporting Actress for Sian Clifford as Fleabag's sister Claire. First off, Sian, how did you find out about the nomination, and what was your just reaction to the recognition, not just for you, but 11 nominations for the whole show, nominated opposite Olivia Colman and all that?
Oh my God. I mean, even just hearing you saying it out loud makes me emotional. Like I can't believe it. I'm still like stuck to the ceiling. I found out, so one of our producers messaged me at like 8 a.m. LA time and sort of said good luck today. And I knew it was happening, but I didn't know what time. I didn't know anything about it. I tried to sort of stay away from it. And then about 45 minutes later, I genuinely started to get butterflies, and I couldn't, I was trying to do some work, and I was like up and down. I was like pacing in my kitchen. I was like, what's going on? Anyway, I just went on Twitter, like apropos of nothing, just to, dawdle and distract myself. And I saw at the top that Phoebe had been nominated. But then I suddenly thought, oh, if it's been announced and I, haven't heard anything, then maybe I haven't. And I Googled it, and I went on the Independent's website, and I realized that it was happening right then. It was live, and I totally freaked out and was like, I am not watching this. I realized that my category hadn't been read out yet. So I turned that off, and I actually went and meditated and just like went really like deep within myself and surrendered it completely to the universe. And it sounds kind of hokey, but that's that really helps me in times of stress. And I just I was like, what will be will be. I was all that really mattered to me was that the show was recognized, and Phoebe, my darling friend, and I was just like, let it go, everything else is a bonus. And then my agent rang me, and I was like, hello. And she's like, hello. She's like, how are you? And I said, I'm fine. And then there was this very dramatic pause, and I just started to cry, and I said, I haven't. And she was like, you have? And I was like, I haven't. And she's like, you have. And I fell to my knees, quite honestly, and sobbed my little heart out. I'm so blown away. I had absolutely no expectation of it at all. And even though there had been some extraordinary press about the show and such kind, generous things written about me, I never anticipated it. And which makes it all the sweeter, I think. And yeah, I just feel so honored and privileged. And the fact that the show got so many nominations is it's just incredible. I'm so thrilled for our team. We worked so hard, and we've been doing this for a long time. We've been working on the show for a long time. So it's a really special moment for us all.
And what were your thoughts when you first learned that the second season was even coming about? Because the first season was very self-contained, and it could have been its own complete entity, and then suddenly a few years later, you're back and filling Claire's shoes again.
Yeah, that was amazing. I kind of knew about it for a long time before the rest of the world did, and it was quite a difficult secret to keep, especially when there was a lot of people were asking all the time. I'm so thankful. I have to mention Amazon and the BBC here, who have been so incredible creatively and affording Phoebe the time and space to make a decision about whether or not she even wanted to pursue a second season. I, of course, really wanted her to. I love playing Claire, and I'm sad to see her go, but I was always going to back my friend 100%. So I totally understood if she felt that the first season was contained and like that's where it, it was going to wrap up. But at the same time, I really felt there was potential for more, and I'm so pleased that she went for it and she did it.
Well, I'm glad to see you smiling because I don't think you smiled through the whole show.
I know, right? Except when she's trying to like throw Godmother off the scent. Yeah, she's I love Claire so much. I relate to her in a really, really deep way, even though I don't think we're much like each other from what I've been told. But I love playing her. It's such a joy. She's, she treads a very fine line between, I don't know, comedy and rage. And I just think, she's very fun to play. But yeah, we have, I think we're pretty different.
Yeah. Well, I know you submitted a different episode, but my biggest laugh was your haircut. Because not the haircut itself, but the fact that you gave them that picture, and he goes, the reference, where's the reference? And it was exactly that. But then again, you found a man that actually liked that haircut.
I think a man that just accepts her as she is, and that's the key. I think, her and Martin have reached a stage of the point of no return, where they're just sort of in their own way tearing into each other, but in a very quiet way. I think it's a very destructive relationship, and I think she obviously connects with this other person who wants to celebrate her. It's a very, very different path she chooses to tread at the end of this season. She goes on such an extraordinary journey. I mean, even in the first episode of season 2, her journey is extraordinary. And Phoebe, I'm so grateful for what that she did that for me. And she really did that for me because she believes in me. And I always say to people, find your champions, because Phoebe WallerBridge is mine, and I have no greater fan or companion in this world. I'm so lucky that all of this has played out how it has.
And you mentioned Claire's relationship with her husband, Martin, and as that character is written and acted brilliantly by Brett Gelman, he is such a kind of loathsome creature in so many ways. So first, so what was it like working with Brett Gelman in that role in those relationships, and what do you think kept Claire with him for as long as she was?
Brett is amazing. I love working with Brett. We're very good friends. We're very dear friends. And he was cast very late for season 1. And he honestly, I didn't know anything of his work, sadly, before we started the show. And I literally, all I saw was a photograph of him in a Mickey Mouse jumper. And which was his IMDb picture at the time. I don't know if it still is. And honestly, the second I saw the picture, me and Phoebe were like, that's him. That's Martin. And he arrived like a few days later. I mean, my God, he was cast super, super late. So he was really like thrown in at the deep end. And he was just phenomenal from the get-go. He just understood that character. And it's been such a joy to work with him and to go on to explore that relationship with one another. And actually, season 1, we don't have a great deal to do with one another. We don't have that many scenes, although I think it feels like we do. Season 2, we had a fair amount more, and of course, we have that awesome showdown in episode 6. But we didn't have a huge amount to do with each other. But we had long conversations about them as a couple. And for me, where that relationship ends up, of course, I have to believe that's not where it began, and that there was love there. It's just turned into resentment because it's been failing for a long time. And I've talked about this a lot as well. I love that Claire comes to that conclusion, but on her own terms. I mean, even though Fleabag is obviously really, really encouraging her, she, in her own subtle little digs about, she knows that Fleabag hates Martin, but she needs to she needs to come to that discovery on her own, and she needs to make that decision on her terms. And I think we all have blind spots. We are all guilty of remaining in situations that do not serve us for far too long. I think we can all relate to that. Might not be the exact same, kind of scenario, and it might not even be to do with a relationship. But there are always things where we don't want to look at certain things in our lives, and I think Claire just clearly isn't willing to. I mean, she wants to bottle it and bury it. She's not someone that wants to confront those things, but she's sort of forced to. And I really do. I'm glad you mentioned the haircut scene, because I think that's a real turning point for Claire. And even though, Anthony says to her, if you want to change your life, it's not going to happen in here. I think it does. I think it does change her life, because it forces her to see things from a different perspective.
And, the episode you submitted for Emmy consideration is actually the third episode of the season, where Claire is preparing that award ceremony for Belinda, played by Kristen Scott Thomas. And we see Claire really, in her element in a sense, but also sort of almost like we're invading her space, and we see her anxieties and some of her insecurities on display. What about that episode really stood out for you for Claire, and that you felt like it was such a special depiction of her?
I have to say that was my favorite stuff to film. I felt in my element as Claire was in hers. I have to say that episode, certainly my scenes in it, did not change much from early drafts. Phoebe will often sort of tinker with scenes and things as we're going along, but a lot of episode 3 stayed where it was. I think, I don't want to misquote her, but I know that she has said she finds it quite easy to write for Claire and Fleabag. And I just, for me, that episode, the reason that I chose it is I love that opening. I mean, it's like 10 minutes of Claire and Fleabag. And you also, when you say, what Fleabag says, I say, God, this is stressful. And Fleabag says something about like how much I'm loving it. And there's a hint of a smile on my face. And I am like, Claire she's thriving in that environment. And it was so funny to film. And I love that episode so much. And my favorite scene of the whole series is in that episode, and I'm not in it, and it's the Fox scene that's right at the end. But I also have a really lovely that exchange between Claire and Fleabag after Fleabag's connected with Belinda, where she says, "We're not friends, we're sisters." And I just think that's another really, really special moment in the play, and it's a theme that runs through it. You see it again when our dad says that he loves Fleabag, but he doesn't like her all the time. And I think that's something that we can all relate to, I think, with our family members.
And, you're in a unique situation on the show where you're working alongside Phoebe WallerBridge as your co-star, playing sisters, but she's also the writer, and she's also the producer. So you're working with her in these different capacities. She obviously wrote your character. What was it like working with her in kind of those multiple capacities?
It was extraordinary. It's so special for me. Phoebe and I have been friends for 16 years. We trained together at drama school. So to see her trajectory and her growth, it's just like truly, I can't, there is no one in the world that I care. Sorry, someone's just nipped in the room. It's distracting me. Don't know who that was. Little visitor. There's no one else in the world that I'm willing to do well more than Phoebe WallerBridge. And I would say that the same. Like, seriously, find your champions. Like, these are the people that will inspire you, and they're also the people that will back you all the way when you're high and when you're low. And And so it's been amazing, and it was just magical to collaborate, effortless. And one of the best things that we've discovered in hindsight, and we realized this after season 1, we never ever discussed how to play those sisters, ever. It was just like, I think it was just very obvious to us, or, well, for me, she gives me all the credit, I give it all back to her, because for me, it's all in the script. It's so clear who those people are. And so it's effortless to perform. The challenge is in, the more technical aspects of filming with time limitations and things like that. It's never it's the playing those characters and embodying them and taking them on those journeys is an absolute joy, and I can't overstate that. And I do sound like a total sycophant, but I absolutely mean it. And we will, we plan to sort of collaborate forever. So maybe not on another Fleabag, unfortunately, but we will continue to work together.
Yeah, and if we never get to see Claire again and Fleabag again in another season of the show, we did sort of leave Claire with sort of pursuing kind of love in a way that she hasn't done before. What do you imagine her future looks like after this point?
Well, I don't think it will be straightforward. I don't think it will be, that's not how life works. And what I love most about these characters is they're human, and I always say, like, we're all flawed but perfectly human, and nothing captures that like this show. So maybe she finds Claire at the airport, maybe she misses him by a whisker, maybe they reconnect in Finland, maybe they have a great life together, maybe they don't. I don't know. What matters for me is that Claire is willing to start making choices for herself in a different way that are empowering for her in a way that she hasn't done before. So I think she's very self-sacrificing as a person up until that point, and that she chooses herself is a really, really important message to be sending women at this moment in time. And that she prioritizes her own happiness, and also that she is opening herself up to love, and that is the same for Fleabag. And so I feel very, very hopeful, but of course their futures will be complicated and messy like all of ours.
Well, I want to congratulate you on your nomination, Sian, and thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today. Thanks also to everyone watching. To see more interviews, check out our Emmy Contenders playlist and make your predictions for the Emmys at goldderby.com. Thanks again, Sian.
My pleasure. Gorgeous talking to you. Thank you.